All right, hello and welcome everybody to the Team Next Level Quad Pod. I'm Greg, joined by Marilyn, Rich, and James. What's up, gentlemen? And Marilyn?
What the heck?
I was looking at them. I feel like I never look at you because
I know,
I have to.
right next
We should
Yeah.
do like a volley for serve every time we do a podcast.
No,
Just
I
change
get used to
seats.
my seat.
Yeah. How's everybody doing?
Wunderbar.
Better now with this.
With that? So we got a couple of fun things this week. The main goal of the show, Rich, you came up with the idea. So what do you want to title this show? What's this going to be called once we get into it?
Whatever title is going to get us the most listens.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Maybe
You've been
we
doing
talk about a lot
triathlon
of
for 10
things.
years and you still suck? Is that a good title?
Oh,
I think
that
that's
hit.
Not you. I'm
That
not
hits.
talking-
That
was
might be-
looking right into my
That's-
soul.
Yeah.
It's so deep. Everybody saw that.
It was
Yeah.
not, I don't
That
know.
is
Have
the
you had a
perfect
tough
title,
day?
though.
What's going on there?
He is amped today.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Second
Yeah.
wind.
Yeah.
So what are we going to call this?
That's a perfect title.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
So we're going to get into that. But before we do that, we got something a little fun. I don't know who texted the group or me. No, I think it was the group, right? About
Yeah.
we want to. So can we say that we're sponsored by Power Bar now?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay. So this year we brought Power Bar on board for our nutrition needs for the team. They've been great to work with. Really trying to build up the brand again after a couple of years of being quiet, and they make some phenomenal product. Everybody, we've talked about it before, loves their hydrogels that are like kind of a thin consistency, taste real good, but they only have 2 flavors, and one of the flavors they don't have that we all kind of love because they make these delicious Coke flavored gummies is that hydrogel in a Coke flavor. So somebody said they need to make it, and I took it upon myself to try and make it. So we're going to taste test a couple of different concentrations of Greg's homemade hydro fuel.
Greg the professor.
Yeah,
Wow.
the nutty professor. Sometimes that's what I feel like. So these are...
So this is not urine in the jars.
No.
It doesn't. I hope
No.
it's
Like
not
he's gonna
anybody's
tell you.
urine, because
Very
it's-
dehydrated. So those of you looking on YouTube, it's,
like
if
a-
it is, I've got to get a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
So
That looks like
It's like a
ragdoll.
watered down honey consistency.
We should start with
And
the
it's
lighter one
in the-
first,
Yeah,
right?
should we start with a lighter one?
I think
Yeah,
so.
go lighter to darker.
Okay.
No?
I don't know.
I think so.
Do you
Yeah.
want to tell people what lighter to darker?
Yeah. So most of the new research out now about sugars and what's good to take in, most of the companies are coming out with some kind of somewhere between 1-to-1 and 1-to-2 ratio of glucose to fructose in some kind of way. So these are a 1-to-1 ratio of a version of maltodextrin and fructose. So it's pretty close to like Morton and SIS beta fuel. A little bit more closer to that 1-to-1 than like Power Bar is a 1-to-2. Never Second is a 1-to-2, and there's a couple other ones. So that's the sugar content, and then they've got Coke flavor in them. So they all have the same base kind of sugar content. But the thing that's different about each of them is just how much Coke flavoring they have in them, or cola flavoring. I don't want to get sued by Coca-Cola.
Let's predict what we're going to like the best. I think I'm going to like the most cola flavor.
The darkest.
The darkest
Yeah.
one. Okay,
But
so
does the texture
Did you
change?
try these already?
I haven't.
Okay.
No, I tried the straight syrup by itself, and it tastes good. It tastes like cola. I think I'm excited to see what they taste like.
What's good is this is flat. There's no carbonation, right?
Right.
No
So-
carbonation. So the idea is we can make up kind of like big jugs of this, like probably 32-ounce containers, and like a squeeze bottle or something that then you can transfer into a reusable flask. And, it's much less expensive than, especially for like day-to-day training and stuff. You can put
Yeah.
some salt in it if you want.
Mhm.
This has got a little bit of salt. I did not measure it out though. And, just save a little bit of money and have fun playing around with it.
How hard was it to put together?
Very easy. Yeah, I made up a batch.
No. You guys say it's extremely
So
difficult.
Extremely difficult. Lots
Yeah.
of R&D went
Some
into it.
titration
Yeah.
was involved.
Uh-huh.
I forget what else there was in chemistry.
It's just another fancy big word.
Different
Yeah.
beakers.
Some Bunsen burners.
I did a little bit of math, and that was about it. Now, all this stuff dissolves real easily in regular water. You don't have to boil it. It's not that concentrated.
Let's
So
try
the
it.
Yeah, let's try it.
So, I guess the test is more taste right now. and
Yeah, at
then-
this point, it's just
No,
taste.
you're
Yeah.
gonna go run right after you take each
I
one.
think
Just run.
what like the trial and error would be like, does it upset your stomach?
100%.
So that's
so once we settle in on a kind of
Flavor.
ratio that we like, a flavor that we like, and then I'll make up a batch and we'll take it and
who's gonna
exercise with it.
Yeah, who's
You.
doing that?
We chose you.
No, there's nothing in this that should upset your stomach.
I have a pretty iron stomach though, so I don't know
Yeah,
if you
I
go
do
by
too.
me.
Uh-huh.
I make my own like drink mix, and I use the same base sugars.
Okay.
So I've never had any problem with that. The only thing maybe the cola flavor, but I don't
Rich,
think
how's
so.
your stomach in general? Sensitive?
I mean, it's not like the most sensitive thing, but it's also I
right,
I
we
don't
doing-
like some things.
Yeah.
Because
So
you
we're
like
gonna start
to
again.
you like to do as much natural kind
Yeah.
of gels and stuff as possible, right?
Yeah.
Is this vegan?
I don't know.
I think it would be, right?
I believe so. So this is 20-1, meaning there's 20 parts of the base sugar.
Salud.
Yeah.
Oh, it smells great.
It's so good. So good.
So
I,
good.
I need more cola flavor.
Okay.
Really?
This totally
I
doesn't
think I
taste
might
like the
like-
cola gummy.
It smells
I know, but it's
like
not
cola.
too sweet. 'Cause remember,
Yeah.
you're drinking this
Yeah.
Right.
potentially for a
not
long
very
time.
sweet.
I don't know how sweet. So we could play with that a little bit. Maltodextrin is not sweet at all.
Oh,
Mm.
good.
So
Right.
that is nice to kind of keep
Yeah,
it
that
from
is
being
good.
cloyingly
Mhm.
sweet.
Mhm.
The syrup, though, is regular table sugar or,
Simple syrup.
yeah, probably.
Mhm.
I think we could add a little drop the viscosity a little bit.
Okay.
Like less thick.
Yeah, so it just kind of
Okay. You'd have to, now,
Then-
based on this is like 30 grams of carbs in a 2 ounce shot, which I think is like what the cis gels are, about
Okay.
2 ounces. So 30 grams is a little bit more than they have. So you could water it down and still be at that like 25 grams of carbs per shot or per, serving.
I think I'm just spoiled by the silky smoothness of
Mhm.
Power Bar hydrogels.
And
Yeah,
that's-
by the hydro, but
Yeah.
like the other
So do we
gel.
want to
Yeah.
get a little bit
Compared to a
stronger,
regular
or do we
gel.
want to? So we've
Yeah.
got
Try.
16-1
Let's
and
keep
10
going.
to. Let's.
I've
we're gonna
cleansed my
taste-
palate.
Okay.
Wash it out with some.
Take a margarita shot.
How else do you cleanse a palate? Ginger. Psh.
And I've got all my like random jars that I collect.
Getting a little
Cheers.
more anise in this one.
I don't know. It tastes kind of the same.
Yeah, I don't know if you can taste the difference too much.
Not much of a difference.
All right, well, then let's jump to 8-1 because the next one's 10, so we probably wouldn't. This is real exciting radio when we're just sitting
Just
quiet.
silently pouring.
Yeah.
Everybody's like on the edge of their seat.
So we're going higher in concentration.
Yeah.
I like the first one still, or second.
I need more cola flavor.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Good with the. I like the flavor,
I'm-
but this
it's,
one's too
um,
much.
It's
Getting more
starting to get-
caramelly now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little more like sticky sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More honeyish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll give you the 4-1. I don't really.
No, I
I
don't
think I
think-
like the 20-1 or the 16-1.
Is there something between the 8 and 4? Or
I have no.
All right, well, let's go for it.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is going to be too much. At
I'm
4.
not happy with that one.
Okay.
Too much.
Yeah,
much what?
Good.
Too much cola.
Too much.
Too much cola. Hmm.
I mean, listen, the nice thing about this, I could make you guys up exactly what you want.
Hmm.
Yeah, see, you get more cola flavor.
You get more
but,
cola
But
flavor.
that's too sweet for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the
I
first
agree.
or the second.
I'm going to have to edit out a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Some people like that.
James.
no one likes that.
ASMR.
So, which one did you like?
I think I do like the first one the most. Just it
Mhm.
goes down the best.
Yeah.
Like this is it changes from cola, like on the nose it's very cola.
Mhm.
Yeah.
On the actual palate it turns more caramelly toffee.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's so
And
sweet.
so
now.
sweet.
Yeah.
So it loses that familiar cola taste.
I like
Right.
the first or the second.
Yeah.
I think
So-
the second one more.
So next time I'll make up big batches and we'll test them out when we exercise and see what happens.
Mhm.
We've got plenty of raw ingredients. So fun, cool. Glad everybody liked it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I'm
Uh,
still gonna use the Power Bar hydrogels as my main thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
but it's good,
100%. I think
Like
so
this
too.
morning, I went out for a run early and I didn't have time to eat, so I had to use a gel, and it's kind of a waste.
So satisfying.
What?
Just if you don't eat, just have a gel.
Yeah. It's quick.
Savory. No.
Did you have one of the salty peanut ones?
No.
They made a jelly with that too. So jelly and a salty peanut, and then
And
two
a
at
bread
once.
one.
There's a company that does that. I don't know if they're still called Split, and it comes in.
Oh.
It's like a peanut butter and jelly in like a squeezed in like a gel packet. I don't know if people just take them straight or they like literally like travel with it and put it on a piece of bread. I don't know. If anybody does use Split and wants to comment, leave a comment.
Yeah.
All right. So the plan was today to talk about sort of how to deal with
Different things.
different.
Over the years, you've
Yeah.
come
Well,
to
kinda like-
see different things.
How do you
is-
know if you're making progress or not?
Yeah.
Was that kind of the gist?
Well, over time, you're going to encounter different roadblocks. And, I think we talk about some of those roadblocks or how to wrap your head around certain things that are just not kind of like day-to-day, basic, what's on the tail events of things.
Cool. So where do you think we should start?
The beginners,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So typically when you start out, beginners, you see like, you see progress right away, right?
Yeah.
So what are you expecting beginners to see as they start out?
I mean, everything. Everything should get better right away, like very quickly.
There's so much opportunity to get better at like actual skill.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're swimming in the beginning, you might be terrible technique wise, and then you start getting better and better. And
Yeah.
as there's immediate improvements there, or just getting more comfortable on a bike.
Mhm.
I was listening to the last or 2 episodes ago, and how, like you said, you spent so much time on the bike. When you're on the bike in a race, you're not stressed out or anything. But I remember starting off, and maybe Marilyn was saying, like on a tri bike for the first time, I
Oh my
was
gosh. It was
death
treacherous.
grip. Like,
Yeah.
So I'm probably was using so much. I had
Yeah.
such high cortisol stress levels just riding.
Wasting
yeah.
energy. Just, yeah.
But once you get comfortable, then I'm sure it's a much smoother experience.
Yeah. I think if you don't know how to swim and you just kind of swim, you get better fast. But if you already know how to swim, I think it takes a little bit longer to get like everything down.
I think even if you're just starting off, the swim takes, that learning curve is long, I feel like. It
Yeah.
takes a while to
I mean, like
really be comfortable and it takes a bit.
If you don't know what you're doing, you're
Yeah.
going to see results right away. But if you kind of like you know how to swim, the little improvements that save a lot of time takes a little bit longer than other stuff.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, that rapid improvement might set you up for difficulty later because like that plateaus, that stops. Like those newbie
Too much syrup.
newbie gains don't last forever,
No.
right? So,
Mhm.
when you're starting out, you're getting, in triathlon, you're getting aerobic improvements, you're getting neuromuscular improvements, you're getting just skill improvements, and all those are on top of each other and lead to just this huge improvement rapidly, like within weeks.
Yeah.
And then that starts to level off, but you're used to that quick gain. It's like, going on a diet, and having those losses that, you lose 2 pounds, 3 pounds in the first week. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to be, I'm going to weigh 10 pounds by Christmas. Like, and then it suddenly stops.
Especially if you get a coach, I think. Even if you, let's say, did one of the 3 before and then you start training for triathlon with a coach, I think you'll see improvements even faster.
Hopefully, because they're putting you towards like
Right,
they've
the right
got all
path.
that experience. They've seen, when you do it by yourself, you're learning it every time all by yourself, where you have somebody else who might see 5, 10, 20 athletes a year. They get 20 tries every year to get it right,
Mhm.
So, which things do you guys feel like you improved the most in the quickest? Where did you see that big improvement?
I think I got faster in the long course on the bike with the most improvement.
What do you mean faster in
fast.
the long course?
Like, so if like most improvement, if you did like a sprint, probably I would say
Oh, okay.
maybe run or swim. But for like the longer distance events,
Okay.
the improvement was really for me on the bike.
Yeah.
Because once you get kind of like down, you got it, you kind of know what you're doing. You know how to put one foot in front of the other, one hand in front of the other. Like, where are your bigger gains if you're looking for a long course?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that my running is tremendously different, but biking, like you could really work on so many different aspects that will and it's a big part of the longer course races
Yeah.
that it really improves your overall times. So, we talked about this last week, but it's worth mentioning here that if you make improvements on the swim and long course, it's saving you time,
Right.
but it's not saving
major
you
time.
Yeah. Whereas like on the bike, you're saving time, and let's
Yeah.
say, your skill, your wattage goes up, you can be saving some decent time there
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
because it's longer.
You guys?
I don't know. I think I would say all three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of those three, though, which one's the most?
I mean, swimming, because I never swam before.
But
Did
you
you
were
say-
a good runner, right? So like you saw
I
improvements
was-
even in running.
Yeah, because I
That's
was
cool.
running. I was training wrong and just running fast all the time. Too much running. Yeah. So I saw improvement. Probably not the most in running, but I did see improvement there.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
it's nice
hear
to know
that,
that somebody
right?
can
Mm-hmm.
go from a sport that they were already good at, and by training less for that, but probably more in total,
Yeah,
you're
just training
still
smarter.
you're still getting better
Mm-hmm.
at that sport. You don't have to like give up getting better at running.
Yeah, no, not at all.
That's good.
Over to you.
I think even though I cramp up on the run a lot, I
Mhm.
think my running is what improved the most, because I was never like considered myself a runner. I just, I started tolerating it because of doing like Spartan races is what kind of got me into that track. But I was never a good runner. And then I think just building base and just being able to hold a pace over a long period of time, that's where I saw biggest improvements, where my heart rate would stay lower and still be able to go at a certain pace. I think that was my biggest gain, because I think I just focused on that
Mhm.
a lot. It was just,
Yeah.
I dedicated it as much, because I think that was my most uncomfortable part other than the swim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So where do we go?
Well, how about you?
I know.
I mean, I
Yeah.
know it's a long time ago for you, but try to.
Yeah, I
think
mean,
back.
that's one of those things that like swimming, I can't tell you how much I improved, how quickly. The bike came on really quick for me. I feel like within a couple of months, I was pretty darn solid on the bike. Not with like handling and riding in a group or anything like that, but just fitness wise, I got good quick. And then like for a couple of years, every year I made like a big step up on the bike for probably like 3 years. It was like every year I came out of spring into the spring, a new rider. And I haven't really gotten that with triathlon yet, but I mean, who knows?
So then we inevitably all hit a plateau.
Yep.
So then what? Because
Sad.
I know when I used to do powerlifting, I would follow these protocols, and it was like 5x5, like 5 reps, 5 sets, increase my weight by 10 pounds every time I added a session. But eventually you hit a plateau.
Right.
And the protocol was, if for 3 workouts in a row, if you don't complete the set, then you drop your weight by 20%, start back down at that weight, go back to those rep sets, and then by the time you get back up to that weight that you failed,
You should
usually you're
do it.
able to bust through.
Hmm.
And if that didn't work, then you would drop, or you'd go to a point where you're only raising by 5 pounds a week. And so there was always something to get you through a plateau. Is there something like that for triathlon? The equivalent?
I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, but like training at the top of the curve where it's like the gains aren't huge, it's way different. And so when you do hit a plateau, I think you have to think about what race you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to first see what you've been doing in training and make sure that it's
Yeah.
the right thing?
Yeah, I think
before
that's a
giving up?
good thing before you switch it up is
Mhm.
like see what you've been doing. I think that one of the toughest things with endurance sport is some of the changes that you're creating, the gains that you're getting are really small, but over years they compound, and in 10 years you're a different athlete than you were 10 years ago.
Mhm.
But like, I mean, think about it. Like, I would give my right arm for 50 watts of FTP, right? But like,
That might get you 50
That's
watts
right.
if you took off an arm.
It's going to hurt you on the swim. but
it's
your
gonna
bike
hurt
is
on
gonna
this
get better.
right? But like, what if I got 5 watts a year for 10 years. And then I got my 50 watts.
Yeah.
But like, what does 5 watts a year look like? Like, that's a really, really small change. Almost small enough where you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm doing all this. Am I getting any better? So I think it's important that you like make sure that your training is focused on some kind of goal. And I think that's the difference between training and working out, right? We talked about that before, where you're not just saying like, oh, I'm going to exercise today. Like, you have a goal, that's part of a bigger plan, and it's focused on something. And then you have metrics along the way to see if those things are working. But recognize that some of them take a really long time to see enough change where you're like, whoa, I'm a different person. You know?
Yeah, so I think I want to double click on one piece of that, which is long course and short course. For short course, I think I'm with James, where like it's a little more similar to, you want to break through something, you can kind of break it down for the short course. And I think as people do long distance tries over time, they'll learn you can't do what I tried to do, which is go from 0 to hero in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So your gains are going to be there. They're going to be incrementally smaller. They're going to take longer. You're not going to build up that aerobic capacity or that huge wattage over a shorter period of time. You're still making improvements. You just got to trust the process that it's longer, and you may not actually be on a plateau.
Mm-hmm.
You're just making gains over years as opposed to what you expect to see in short course, which is like, I'm going to make these gains over a few months or half a year.
Yeah. But even in short course, you have to be faster. So that's even hard, right? To see those gains in speed in a short distance, not always easy.
Yeah. I mean, the one nice thing, like, I definitely agree with the distinction you're making. The higher, closer to max effort you are, the faster those systems tend to respond to training. So you want to see an increase in your sprint speed. No, not sprint triathlon, like sprint max effort kind of sprint. That trains up very, very quickly. So you see huge gains in that when you do a focused sprint training block. That's cool because then you could see it quickly.
Yep.
VO2 max responds really quickly. A couple of weeks, you can have a huge bump in your power at VO2 max. Like, that's measurable. And FTP, now we're coming down the power curve a little bit, right? FTP, you might get a good bump, but it's going to take a while, and now we get into long course stuff and we're out at that far end of the power curve. That takes years, so it's sprint distance. And that's probably why training for a sprint and an Olympic and stuff like that, the shorter end of the power curve is smarter to do early on, because those things can be trained up pretty quickly. But that long endurance that allows you to go and ride at the top of zone 2 for 6 hours, like, that takes years.
Yeah. So you're not necessarily going to hit a plateau. You just maybe think about it and say, okay, where am I racing and am I making progress over the years?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's
so you have to adjust your time horizon and expectations.
I think that's a big part of it.
And understand what type of races you're doing and what you want to get better at. Yeah.
I follow a guy on Twitter, Alan Cousins. He's a researcher, physiologist, coach. I just really like what he has to say and the angle he takes on stuff. And he said most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a 5-year period. So like, if we're sitting here and I'm like, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds by next year, that might be a little too drastic. But if I say like, I probably underestimate what I could do in 5 or 10 years if I just stick to, the proven stuff that works and just realize that it's going to take a long time to get those gains.
10 pounds
no
by 10 Christmases from now.
Yeah. But just like, most of us don't realize how good we could be if we just took a much longer look at, what we're going to do. Because like you said, those, especially the longer events, it takes a long time to train to a point where you can handle those kind of things.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, a really good perspective. If you're doing the right things, you're just maybe having the wrong expectations. So what if you're like not doing the right things?
Not doing the right
so
things.
like, how do you identify that? So you're putting in a lot of work, nothing is getting better. Maybe you're getting injured now, or you're just always too wrecked to do your next workout.
Yeah.
What are some warning signs or things you have to evaluate at that point to say, all right, I can't keep doing these same things and expect to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Like I, just because I was a fan and watching, tennis players at the top, and there's only a handful of them, and you could see them as they get older, and they win Grand Slams over a period of time. They don't all stay with the same trainers and coaches and plans, and the really good ones change it up. And I think it's applicable to a lot of other things, including triathlon. And I'm not saying you need to throw everything out and just figure out, new diets, new plans, new coaches, whatever it is. But you definitely want to evaluate your evolution over time. And so if you're kind of like, you got what you needed to get out of the first year of training, your first few times of doing the same kind of plan, the same kind of training, let's change it up. All right. If you're nutritionally, something's kind of feels the same period over period, time over time, what can I change up? Right. And then, I think also it takes time to develop that trust and relationship with your coach. And over time, then you start to say, you start to change the needs of what you have. So you say, I want to try these different things. What can we do about that? So I think those things are good to think about if you've really, wanted to hit that difference over time.
Yeah, I think if you can be brutally honest with yourself, that's a big part of continuing to see improvement, because it's very easy to fall into a routine that doesn't create the right kind of stress for improvement. And unless you are willing to really look hard in the mirror and, be comfortable being uncomfortable, then it's hard to do those things, to look and say like, all right, I've been putting in 10 hours a week and I'm here, and like, what's the reason I'm not here? What's the reason I'm not?
For those of us listening, he's moving.
I just moved my hand 6 inches. What's the reason that I'm not better? Like that's a hard discussion to have with yourself or with a coach or whatever. But if you want to improve, you have to be willing to say like, okay, I was doing this wrong, or, I didn't respond the way that I should have to this, or whatever the case is. Like, you have to be brutally honest with yourself.
So I'm trying to just imagine, like before, if I didn't have teammates, if I didn't have a coach, I would have just kind of like, I think traditional thinking is like when I would just work out, like you just want to destroy yourself because you feel like, all right, you want to break yourself down and then, build yourself back up and then just keep repeating and just constantly just like see how much can you take. But, you quickly learn in the sport that's not the smart way, and you're probably not going to see improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the beginning a little bit, but at some point you'll plateau.
Yeah, and then probably go backwards at that point. Yeah,
and that was my thinking. I would do a race and I would keep having the same results. So I'd get mad at myself and then just train harder and harder and harder, and it was not going anywhere because I was destroying myself instead.
Fight smarter, not harder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are important. But I really do think taking a longer look approach to it all is big. I'll tell you guys, like I think I've shared my 2-year plan with you guys all, right?
Yep.
Like when I sat down to write that was like an eye-opening thing for me to just like, because I wrote it, I guess, 2.5 years before I decided, like before the date that I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. That allowed me to take I don't know if 2.5 years was enough time, but like it allowed me to say like, okay, what do I have to do to get to that point in 2 years? Like those are tiny little baby steps, not like, oh, I got 6 months to get ready for this and not cramming for a test. It's like, and I laid it all out and was like, okay, you have to be able to do these things. And it's like, okay, you got to be able, then you can set little mini goals along the way. But like that helped me so much to just step back, take a longer approach to it, and like say like, where do I actually have to get to? Because not just some random numbers I'm pulling out of my rear end that's like, sound nice, but realistic kind of things. So
and long approach is nice because it doesn't seem so stressful, because you're like, well, it, like you said, it's broken down into little pieces in a long period of time.
Yeah. So I think that's a good way to do it. But when you reach those plateaus, it's really tough to figure out what to do. Reading a lot, talking to a lot of people who have been through it, not getting upset at yourself. Like I'm sure that's a super common thing. You can't PR every race you're in,
No way. Yeah.
And if you could, you'd be at the Olympics in a couple of years, right? Like if that happened. So, but I think people are hard on themselves and think that should be the case, so where to now?
Well, we should talk about like what makes you hit a certain like wall, right?
Yeah, that's
like
a good
we talk
idea.
about.
What causes the plateaus,
right? And some of those things are within your control, and some of those are not.
Right.
And I kind of think about this where people hit a plateau, and the first thing they look at is gear. I'm like, well,
That's very true.
I think if I got a better bike or a carbon shoe, that's it. That's just going to fix it. But I think you have to look what Greg was piggybacking off of Greg's.
But those new toys do help with motivation sometimes, right? Like having that new thing to play with might sometimes be the kick in the butt that you need.
It's like the placebo.
Yeah. Or it's just a psychosomatic, like that new bike, I want to ride that new bike. So I'm going to ride more. Like, there you go.
I don't know if that's where I would start, but
no, I wouldn't start buying new stuff for sure.
Just like,
some people do.
I was thinking about today, like, which bike am I going to sell?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Not buy, just sell. I got to
sell. You got to get rid of
pick one.
I'm going to sell the bike I'm going to buy next. Yeah. So some of those things are physical, and you kind of have to be honest with yourself. You just kind of your physiology. There's a certain body type physique that's like an ultimate ultra runner. There's some, and if you're doing this long course or short course, what kind of physique do you have? Where are you? And sometimes that's something to look at first, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to look at like you don't get change unless you go like outside what your body is used to. Like you have to force adaptation.
Right.
But is it the right amount? So is it too little or too much? And so finding that right balance. And when you're looking at our metrics and TSS and all those other letters and stuff, it's I don't think about it, but you're making sure we're getting the right amount of load and fatigue and all that.
Or trying to. But again, it's like it's about being brutally honest, and it's about having those conversations so that because I could program, if I'm working with an athlete and I can program the heck out of them, they still have to do the workouts, right?
Yeah.
And then I have to get the feedback that says no, that was too much. That that ruined me for 2 days. Like I need to know that so that I can then adjust those things. Like not everybody fits into a cookie cutter.
I also think that on the flip side, you have to be honest with yourself. When you're doing a workout, like, are you going too easy?
Yeah.
Are you actually challenging yourself? I mean, like, don't destroy yourself, but are you actually forcing adaptation? And if you're just doing the same thing over and over again and you're comfortable, you're probably going to stall out or not see any progress.
Right. But I do think, and we should probably preface this by saying like those are for certain workouts, right? I don't think you should if the plan is 2 hours easy, you shouldn't have to ask yourself, like, am I going there? If the plan is 2 hours easy, like you should know what easy feels like and you should be there. And if you're not, then the person you're working with, if you're working with a coach, great. They need to be on telling you like, no, your heart rate was 20 beats higher than it was supposed to be. Like chill out.
I think another one it was like an aha moment. It's like, you can be doing this amazing stuff, but in the last few years, at least for me, whatever, in the last 2 years, like sleep was huge, right? Like if you're not sleeping, no matter what plan you have, how much stress you're putting your body under, no matter what you're doing, and that's recovery, right? But if you're not sleeping, like that, that's the first thing I'm going to say, like go to sleep.
Go to sleep. Yeah.
Just get some sleep.
It's got to be somewhat of a priority a little bit, I think.
Right? Like, but that's only in the last, I don't even know how many years.
Yeah. And I think you see it across the board. I mean, you're in kind of the big business stuff and like
big business.
I don't even know what to, I mean, I kind of know what you do, but like, I'm a teacher. I don't know that, but like,
Rich is
That's
like
little
Chandler.
business.
yeah, that's not,
No one knows what he does.
but like even like C-suite executives now prioritize rest, where it used to 10 years ago, it was like, oh, I stayed at work until 3 a.m. and
Mhm.
slept under my desk and like then got up at 5 to get back to
Like-
work on the, like, that's not cool anymore. Right. Like
I
now-
wish that transferred into like the medical profession because they still have those like 24-hour shifts for
Right.
like,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to be seen by that.
I don't want
doctor.
that
He's been up for how long?
Yeah.
Nope.
right. But like, so people have realized that rest is important. So yeah, that's a big part of it. If you're not getting enough rest, you're not
Mhm.
going
Like
to
you're just
recover.
loading and loading.
Right. You can't train. You
Yeah.
can't train properly.
You're not adapting.
I remember I was listening to either a podcast or something on YouTube with the Norwegians, and it was Christian and Gustav, and they were asking them, whoever was interviewing them was asking, like, what kind of recovery stuff are you using? Are you using cold plunges? Are you using
You don't use
saunas?
anything.
Are you using Normatec boots?
Mhm.
And they're like, we sleep and we
Mhm.
eat.
Yeah.
And
I
he's
saw
like,
that.
and that's 100%. That's it.
Yeah.
Do those things and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Well, you hit the second one right there. Eating.
Eating.
Yeah, eating too.
Yeah.
That is where I know I have a lot of opportunity.
Right here. I have a lot of opportunity.
Really, guys?
Yeah.
I don't eat healthy at all.
No.
Really?
No.
And healthy doesn't necessarily mean the food choices. It just means quantity and times.
Oh, all of the above. I just eat whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I know I could. So I still have a lot of fitness gain that I can
Yeah.
still work on.
Yeah.
But I know that if I cleaned up my diet, went back to measuring and weighing, making sure everything was as.
I don't even think you have to go that far.
I mean, if I really
It
wanted to get
depends what your
serious,
goal
I
is,
think
I
it's good to
guess.
calibrate.
He's kind of
Yeah.
joking around about it now, right? He's
but if
not
I could just
serious.
like, as many whole foods as possible,
Mhm.
really
Mhm.
think about what I'm putting in my body. I think just the benefits of, reducing inflammation, better recovery, more vitamins and minerals, like
Right.
you would see huge
And just be
huge gains.
deliberate about like, all right, what did I do today? What do I have to eat?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Like if I switch from living to eat to live, like that's, where
you
I
can
can make
still
a big
eat a
switch.
lot and good food, but yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
do both?
If someone invented some pill that, like, if I'm eating a gigantic bowl of broccoli and it's the same feeling as having a bag of chips, then yes. But
Yeah.
it's like
They're not the same.
you can eat a lot
Can you
of
eat broccoli
It's
chips?
not like the same.
I'm
Not
pretty
the
sure they
same.
make protein chips now. I've tried those. They
Yeah.
don't- no.
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 And at a certain point, you get like it. That's just as processed as the
Yeah,
damn bag of
exactly.
chips. Like,
Yeah.
It's just
know.
making you feel better.
Right.
But
Yeah.
to really like dial it in, like just whole foods, nothing processed, to cut out as much artificial sugar as possible.
mhm.
Like you can,
Oh, you'd feel so much better.
yeah. I mean, you wake up in the morning, you probably feel like 10 years younger.
Mhm.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Let
I
me
don't
know
know
how.
about
it
Let me know how
goes.
that works out
Mhm.
as I sip my.
Yeah. That's like, but you want to enjoy life too, right? So we're
Completely.
yeah.
not
It's a
pros.
balance.
If I was a pro, then yeah, maybe I would have it. If I was a pro,
But I mean, here's
Had
the
a
thing.
chef.
There's not too many 44-year-old professional triathletes out there.
so let's just
Right.
give up right now.
No, I'm just
No.
saying, like, you're
You
right.
only need one.
Like, how long can you, like, living
Right.
like a monk like that? And not just with your eating, with everything, where
Yeah.
everything revolves around training and performance and stuff like that. Like, that might not be a realistic thing for the lifestyle athlete like us.
Yeah.
You do have to have, you can't just live like that and lead a normal, I don't want to say healthy life, but, I don't know that you can do it.
Let's be balanced.
True.
So that comes down to kind of our big pieces is, balancing your stress, right? Is the training stress, the environment, the job stress, the family stress, all those stressors that you put yourself under, your brain handles it the same way. So
And you need to think about that, right?
Yeah.
You can't just say, okay, I've hit a plateau, something's wrong, whatever it is, I'm not making improvements, whatever. So what do I do only within that tunnel vision of athlete, sport,
Mhm.
and that's it? There's so many other stressors that
Right.
are just
I mean,
added to your life.
you're realistically, how much are you training per week? Percentage wise,
Yeah.
Mhm.
hours in a week, it's not that much. So there's a lot more other stuff that you can change probably to deal with that stress. And like you said, you get a little bit more sleep. If you can find 20 minutes a night, 30 minutes a night extra, that's an extra 3.5 hours of sleep a week. Like, that's no joke. It's a half a night's sleep
Mhm.
Mhm.
every week. That makes a difference.
Yeah. Stressors come from everywhere, and people don't think things are stressors, but like they are. They just, everything adds up.
So how do you eliminate the stressors?
I don't know.
I mean, it depends on what the stressor is exactly. Some
And
you can, some you can't.
You can't.
I mean, it depends on how big of changes are you wanting or willing to make.
Mhm.
Like,
There's a big movement now, right, into that whole mental health and being healthy. And a lot of it isn't actually about eliminating it. It's finding a way to ignore it.
How to
And
deal with it.
I'm
Yeah.
good at that. That is no joke. Like I am.
Please tell us more.
I
So
don't-
like
I
ignore
don't-
if your family is stressing you out, just ignore them.
Can't hear.
My wife might say that. No, that's a skill I have. I am able to compartmentalize and shut that kind of stuff off.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't get stressed in an outward way that you would notice, you know.
So he's saying he's just like a ticking time bomb? He's just
Sounds
And
like
then
it.
one day, my
He didn't say he managed it. He just compartmentalized it. It's boiling or
Something's
fermenting
going on.
Like
somewhere.
simmering.
Yeah.
No, it's not, I don't know. I'm wired that way.
Yeah.
I used to be more stressed. Now it's just, you got to at a certain point realize what's important, and that's it. Everything else, yeah.
I mean, I think the irony is for me, my best way to relieve stress is to do
Yeah.
training.
Is to
Mhm.
exercise.
And my favorite stress relief is to run
Mm-hmm.
with no music or podcast or
Yeah,
anything.
and
Just
just
a
get
long
lost.
run and just let all those thoughts go on in my
Mhm.
head. And then I'm not actively trying to solve them or anything, but I'll think about it while I'm running. And then by the time I'm done running, like you just feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, random quick poll. I'll go around, but I'll answer myself first. What eliminates more stress? And is it like doing meditation or yoga, or doing any one of the physical activities that we do? Because like I get more stressed when I'm trying to do yoga
Yeah.
than if I'm just gonna go out to like.
probably 'cause
Agreed.
we are not good at yoga. Like,
Yeah. No, I'm all right.
Yeah,
but
are
I'm okay.
Okay.
But even meditation, I'm good at meditation, but I don't think it relieves as much stress for me as other stuff. What about you, James?
I don't really try yoga or meditation.
Yeah, I don't
so
do
I
either
haven't
of those
given
things.
an earnest effort.
I don't know. Come up with something. Just sitting there.
But what I would say is I think when I am running and I don't have music and I just hear my footsteps, repetitively, I think it puts me into that
Sort of is.
that same
Meditation.
state.
Yeah.
And so I'm just hearing the sound. I'm not thinking. It's just my mind just starts to flow. And so that is my meditation.
Yeah, I agree. I've always said-
Swimming, right? Like if you go for a swim.
yeah, for me, it's not the swimming. It's on the bike.
Okay.
But I do get into sort of a meditative, like sometimes a very introspective state. Like it's
The flow state.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it is. And I mean, I've felt that. I've only felt that a couple times running. And I think it's just because I'm relatively new to running compared to the other things. And I'm still like trying to get comfortable doing it. But yeah, I've definitely gotten into those spots. Like I'm not a religious person, but like I feel like connected to something when I'm out in nature exercising.
Right.
So
Being out there doing something
for me,
more than sitting still.
yeah, 100%. But
Or
I
striking a pose.
still love to sit on the couch and like watch TV. I just don't do it that much anymore. But yeah.
How about you, Marilyn?
Same running. I mean, it's just great for me. When I can't do it, it's not good.
Have
Not
you
good.
gotten to the point where biking is also not stressful at all? Have you like enjoyed?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But I don't know if it's because we're always talking and there's like other things to worry about, the traffic and the cars. I don't get in that same relaxed state. But when I run, yeah, I could zone out and just, I don't even know, time just goes by.
I got to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Running and time just goes by.
The
That
best
happened
way
to me. Whatever
When we ran.
you and me. Yeah.
I was
We
just-
You
I
guys
did
just-
that session.
You guys just
That
ignored each
session.
other.
that sesh. No, it was, I forget, it wasn't the most recent one. It was the one before that. It was like 2 or 3 runs ago. And for whatever reason, like I just got that runner's high towards the end. And like, I felt like it was great.
Walking and talking.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I think the best way to get into that run flow state is sign
run.
up for a marathon. And then when you get
Would,
those,
would it be Philly?
It might be Philly's 2
November.
weeks after.
so when you
North
get into those
Carolina.
long runs, it just happens.
You just got to give me 24 to 48 hours to think about it.
That's it. Next show, we'll ask you. Did you sign up yet? Did you sign up yet?
It's been how long since he talked about it last? Couple weeks already.
I mean, I haven't even signed up for it yet.
Yeah.
I have to actually sit down with Greg and figure out, okay, what would my training look like?
Yeah.
For Wilmington.
And I'd have to sit down and figure that step out too.
I'm gonna have to pay Greg extra.
No, that's part of it.
But really though, like when it's I would say I never got into that state running when I was just a casual runner and maybe running 20, 30 minutes. Like I'm actually still fighting in my head within 30 minutes that am I going to do this run?
Uh-huh.
And I always joke around, and I think it's the you go through the 5 stages of grief in a run. Because I don't know the exact.
No, you go through
there's
the
like-
five
I do
stages
not
of
go
grief.
through
I
it.
go
do not
through-
go through the
I go
five
through it. I don't know what all the fights, but something like anger, denial, something, and at the end it's like acceptance, right? So like, or just bargaining. So that's I go through. At first, I'm like, I'm not doing this run. I don't want to do. I don't. And then you're like, you're bargaining with yourself. Like, all right, let me just go 30 more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually just like you're in it, you just accept it. And so I feel like once you do that long, you have to be training for something that's long.
Yeah.
You have to get past that initial discomfort of saying, all right, you've accepted it, you're in this run, and then your mind can just go.
Yeah, I'd agree. Anytime I've had that kind of flow state, whatever you want to call it, on a run, it has to be beyond like 45 minutes or so before I start feeling that.
Like you kind of just surrender to it.
Yeah.
I think Huberman talks about something like that with what's he called it? I don't know if it's like mental plasticity or something, but it comes from you have to get into an agitated state first.
Okay.
And then recognize
I'm
that
there.
they're going to be
I'm there now.
agitated.
You're agitated? All right.
And then once you can
Let's
get
go
past
running.
that, your mind will kind of realign, and then but you have to actually go through that agitation.
Let's so like if to pull it back, like back to the stressors and meditation, like I think also like you can't control the work or the family stresses sometimes, but what you can do is have an open dialogue and a conversation about it. And I think that helps. It depends on what you're training for. If you, it's a totally different type of stress if you like didn't have a conversation with your business partners or whatever, and you didn't have that conversation with your family, and now all of a sudden you're out for an 8-hour bike ride, right? It's a different type of stress. And like if you've kind of had that conversation and
they know it's coming.
They got your back and then they know it's coming and this is what it's going to be like. I think you can kind of manage that stress that way.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to what happens when you are training and you get like fatigued or tired and that feeling of like constant meh or constant
It's
malaise.
normal. I mean, nobody wants to train every day, right?
Yeah. How do you know that you're not overtraining or you need to dial it back?
So I guess you got to look at some metrics like HRV,
Yeah, HRV is
resting
one
heart rate.
The HRV, there is a kind of caveat with that with women. It's not always accurate. So
What's the caveat?
Because during your cycle, it can affect HRV.
Okay.
So
While you're cycling?
not that kind of cycling.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, we need Yvonne back here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I listened to that episode. I was like, I was fired within the first 3 minutes. I think it was.
Yeah. So
do you know
safe to keep
does
that in mind.
HRV respond about
it goes
the same way
I
during
believe it goes
each-
down right before.
right before you get your period?
Yeah.
So, but does it go? I mean,
I'm
it's
still like
tough.
learning about it, but yeah.
Do you know if it goes down by about the same amount every time? Like,
I
you
don't know that.
Because it'd be interesting to know. Can you
I'll have to check.
like figure that into the equation? You know?
I don't know if you can go by that because I mean, like your sleep can affect it,
Right.
a lot of other things. So
Yeah.
how do you know
So
exactly?
how do you know it's that?
And I think
not
that's
something
the
else?
issue why it's not, like our Garmin or whatever can't
Mhm.
tell if you're where you are in your cycle in order to take that into consideration.
Mm.
So
And you have to deal with that regularly.
Yeah. Hopefully.
hmm So, but I mean, yeah, it is a good indicator either way because it helps you be more introspective and be like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, so HRV
Resting
is one.
heart rate.
Resting heart rate's another good one.
Mhm.
Resting heart rate seems to lag behind HRV a little bit. Like, so if HRV responds more rapidly to changes, heart rate might, like I knew when I got COVID back in January, I wasn't measuring HRV, but my heart rate didn't show it until like a day or two after I had already shown symptoms and tested positive. And I know that there were like some pro sports teams were using HRV during like 2020 to predict COVID almost. Not predict COVID, but like isolate people if they woke up and had a high reading or a low reading, like anything outside their norm. They were like, okay, you're quarantined, whether you're sick or not. Like we're going to keep, because they knew that HRV responds really quickly to illness. So, I mean, there's that. And I think there's like, again, it comes back to what I said about being brutally honest with yourself. How do you feel? Like you should ask that question every time, you know, every time after a workout. Like the more experience you get.
Does Training Peaks use that to, or is it more for the coach's feedback when you put in how you feel after a workout?
You can see those subjective scores. Yeah. But like you need to, so you look at those and be honest with yourself. Like if you've done this training before, like I know you should know what easy should feel like. So was it? And be honest, not just like, oh, I'll tough it out because whatever. Like if it was a threshold effort, you know what that's supposed to feel like. Did it feel way harder than that? Were you not able to complete it? Like, okay, was it just too hard of a workout that day or was something else? Like the more honest you can be with yourself, the easier it is to spot those kind of things.
And sometimes you can be tired going into a workout and not really feel up to it. But within 10 minutes, if you still feel horrible, then maybe dial it back or call it quits. But usually within 10 minutes, you're feeling fine.
Right.
I don't know. James just said he was fighting himself for 20 minutes on the run. Like 10 minutes in, he quit.
But it's similar though. Like in any workout, like you have to get over that hump.
Yeah.
So you have to, don't go with your initial feeling.
Right.
But if you're progressing through that workout and you're like, okay, something doesn't feel right.
I would say if you get to a point where you're failing a significant number of workouts, and failure meaning like you can't do it at the prescribed zone, right? Like if you have threshold intervals and you're supposed to be working at 200 watts and you dial it down to 190, that's not failing a workout, right? If you can't get through it and you quit and you do that a couple of times in a week, that's should be alarm bells, you know? So does it mean you're overtrained? No, maybe you're a little overstretched and you just need some more rest. Like it's not.
Maybe you didn't sleep well all week or whatever.
Like
You've been stressed.
To, again, be honest with yourself and look at those things. Or if you know like, oh shit, I only got two hours of sleep last night and I've got the hardest workout I've ever done on tap. Like, well, maybe you shouldn't.
Right. Or back to the food. Maybe you've been eating like crap and
so maybe
that's why I can't do the workout.
Let's look at it from a different perspective, or whatever, the other way. So what is overtrained defined? So what is it? What is overtrained to each one of you guys? What does it mean?
I think this is when it's too late, but you either get injured or you get sick.
So overtrained is injured.
I mean, it's too late at that point, but it can, let's say it leads to that. I would say for me, like I feel like my immune system will definitely be much weaker if I'm overtrained, and then I'm more susceptible to getting anything, whatever's out there.
Marilyn, what about you?
I think eventually, you'll get sick, but I think like Greg was saying, you can't complete the workouts. You're not feeling well. Your muscles are sore all the time. You're not sleeping well. Sometimes you're overtrained. You can't sleep well because of it.
Anything to add there?
Yeah. So, okay. Training in the short term makes you weaker. Immediately after a hard session, you are weaker, right? That curve extends for a period of time down, and then you come back from it. Eventually, you get to a point where you're at the same level of readiness and or fitness as you were before the workout. Hopefully, you get a little increase, right? Then you can do another workout. If you train while you're in that dip and you haven't recovered yet, then you create a further dip. Like you can't change that. You can't change that dip, right? Every time you work out, there's going to be that decrease in fitness. If you stack too many hard workouts too close together, that digs itself into a very, very deep hole that you can't get out of. And you have hormonal changes, you have all kinds of physiological changes, you have mental changes. Like if you're overtrained, you're going to be a cranky SOB. Like you're not going to be happy.
Stop looking at me. Stop it.
Rich, are you overtrained?
Yes.
So you do that enough, like, your body changes and then all the kind of like you can't catch up, and you can't catch up on just fighting infections. You can't catch up on repairing ligament damage. And
Mhm.
that's where the illness and injury comes from.
The visual for me is that you drain the battery and you
Mhm.
can't recharge it.
Yeah.
But you're draining it slowly. It's like it's like if, every night when I plug in my phone, when I wake up, it's at 100%. It's like, imagine you're using your phone all day and then I only plug it in for 10 minutes. Right. And then I use it again for the next day and I plug it in for 10 minutes. And like plugging it in for 10 minutes might get me a week's worth of use, but eventually that battery is going to die.
And if you're bringing it back to like battery, like all the battery management systems now on your cell phone, cars, whatever, like they don't actually, when it says 0, it's not actually like 0. If you actually let like a lithium ion battery go to 0, it's not coming back.
Mhm.
Like, so like the software will limit it so that you don't actually get that low, because if you do that, the battery's damaged. It's too hard to get charged back into it.
And listen, if you legitimately overtrain yourself, like there's overreaching, and overreaching is going a little too deep.
Oh, Jose got that.
Okay, so overreaching
Oh,
is
on
just
his
a
watch.
little. Oh yeah,
Remember?
right. The Garmin likes to
Yeah.
say overreaching, right? That's
A
you're
lot.
increasing the load too quickly from what you've been doing. But overreaching can actually be a really strong tool, because sometimes you usually, if you give the rest at the appropriate time, you can get like a hyper rebound effect and get a big bump in fitness, but you have to rest at the right time. And then there's overtraining, and that there are people who it takes years to come out of an overtrained state and get their cortisol levels back online and get their testosterone back to where it's supposed to be, and like be in a healthy position again to handle exercise. And that's scary when you think about, like, these people are trying to be in better shape and they're literally killing themselves by overdoing it.
Iron Cowboy.
Yeah.
I'd
probably.
love to
He
see
was
that guy's
probably
blood
overtrained.
panels.
Yeah.
Well, he said like after that whole experience, he had to go into therapy because he was stuck in this like adrenal fatigue,
Yeah.
stuck in the flight response. Like he couldn't get out of it. He was just stuck.
And when you look at that and you're like, okay, this guy did 100 Ironman distance races for 101,
Yeah.
101 for 101 days. It's a gigantic volume of work, but it wasn't intense
No,
Right. It was
he had to
easy.
keep his heart rate
Mhm.
low.
the whole time, right?
Yep.
So like that's one way to get it, but also constantly doing hard work every day, even if it's not those kind of that kind of volume, can still put you in that kind of position.
But if you can survive that and adapt,
Oh, God. But you can't.
I think I was overtrained or something one time. It was a hard workout, and I texted James. I'm like, oh. And his response was, I think you just got harder to kill.
That's a good response.
I was like,
I will-
okay.
You don't get overtrained with one workout.
Yeah.
No,
right?
no, but
You know,
it's just a
it's-
great
it's an-
response. He's
it's
just like, you just got harder to kill.
It's an accumulation of stress,
Love it.
Mhm.
Accumulation of fatigue.
fatigue, right? That's
but you have to build fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't build fatigue, you're not getting better.
Mhm.
Right.
You just have to do it in the right measured amount.
Mhm.
Smart.
smart.
And it's not obvious. I mean, like in this sport, I think it's kind of like you have to take a long-term approach. You kind of have to like play around a little bit and figure it out. But it's not that like very simple and obvious thing that you just see all the time.
What is it?
The fatigue or the overtraining. Like
Right, because you talk yourself into thinking that you're running 40, 50, 60 miles a week. You're riding your bike for 10 hours. Like you're swimming 4 times a week. Like, and you talk yourself in, well, I should look at all what I'm doing. I should be tired all the time.
Yeah, it just gets it's like a mental
This is-
headspace kind of
yeah.
thing. Like it's a little different because it's a little different than other sports, I would say.
Yeah, because I don't know that there's too many other sports. Like, let's think about any other adult recreational sport, because that's what this is, right? That takes up this much of your time.
I don't know any.
Is drinking a sport?
No.
Brings with it a whole host of problems too.
Yeah.
But like,
No. And I mean, it's normal. Sometimes you're going to be tired.
yes,
And that's
Sometimes
just
it's
part
not
of it.
going to come from your training. It's going to come from the other stressors.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
enough sleep.
and that's a big part
Poor
of like,
Like you were
Mhm.
saying, poor food choices, right?
Mhm.
It's a big thing. Like it's worth taking an honest. You've been saying like an
Yeah.
honest approach to it.
This just popped into my head.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
This is more thoughtful too. But I think
Is this going to end up with diarrhea?
Well, you said it. But when you're going back to being honest with yourself, I think you also can't fall into the trap of comparing yourself to other people.
Yes.
Like
That's a
just
big one.
because someone else is doing this and they're doing that, like you gotta throw that all away. Like it's.
Did we talk about that last week about Strava? Or we've talked
At
about
some
it
point,
recently.
we talked
Yeah.
about getting off Strava.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Strava is terrible for people, especially like with that.
Can I still
specifically.
compete with the guy in the lane next to me
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
pool
Yeah,
just for that
100%.
10
When I was
seconds?
swimming next to Marilyn,
I was racing
when I
Greg
was-
the other day.
Yeah, I was like swimming
How'd
next to
that
you.
go
The,
for you?
Trying to.
the other day I was when I was swimming next to you. I was like, oh, Marilyn's probably thinking like, so I just on purpose like, oh, let me speed up here because then Marilyn's like, oh no, he's not gonna be. So I was just like using that.
Now we're all just going to secretly race each other. And I had fins on, by the way, when I tried to race you.
It's only okay in the pool.
a little
Yeah.
easier.
And only that
Because in
one
the corner of
stretch.
your eye, it's like, oh, you see the person.
Yeah.
But yeah, very smart. Like very good point. Like comparing yourself to others, just it's a I don't want to say it's a sport against yourself, but like that's where you should be looking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the other guy has diarrhea, don't try to have diarrhea.
If he's eating baking soda by the spoonful before his race, don't do that.
I'm still good on the colas, so
Yeah.
just we're still good on the colas.
But yeah, what do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy
Yeah.
or something. Like
Mhm.
Never heard that, but that's a
Oh,
good
yeah.
one.
No, yeah.
I made that up.
Oh.
No, he didn't.
Just came up with that right now.
Yeah, sounds good.
Chat GPT came up with it.
We'll put it on the t-shirt.
Yeah,
Um,
along with the sesh.
yeah.
Well, that's a thing now. So
Yeah.
People everywhere are cringing every time I say that.
No, just you.
I was actually kind of worried because I was just joking about like, oh, like just make sure you tag Marilyn with a session. Then
He
Greg
did.
did it, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what if like it's happening a lot more than I realized? I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't
It
ruin
is a thing. And like Isabella heard it. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe they said that.
It's phenomenal. So we hit on overtraining.
we got a lot to go.
We do.
Mhm.
We're okay.
We
We're
don't
in
have
an
to do all
hour.
this.
We're in an hour.
We don't want to be over podcasting
Oh,
either.
is that a thing?
Gets
Yeah, we do
adrenal
it every
fatigue.
time.
No, if I have some longer workouts planned this weekend, like especially the trainer,
Yeah.
that I cannot do without some sort of stimulus. Greg, on the other hand, I heard you have everything. I'm like, when I was listening to
know.
this, I was like, all right, I got Zwift on, music, a movie,
Yeah.
something else. I was like,
I don't even know.
how
I
are-
can't.
It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Grading
been watching
papers.
races
I'm not
lately,
doing
and
that.
I highly recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
watching races.
Yeah.
Bike races.
Like bike races.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I do think what's interesting is the Zwift, I guess, crit races. I don't know if it's like they have, like you can be in a league and then people
Oh,
are just
yeah.
like sprinting. And I was like, oh, that looks
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
in Zwift.
oh.
You can like sign
Oh,
up,
yeah,
be in a
yeah.
race, and they're
Mhm.
just like, I guess it's
I've
like
done those.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to have joined the Zwift, one of the teams in Zwift.
Oh yeah.
It's like a whole
Which one?
thing.
Ours?
Well, we're a team, but then there was this for the longest time.
Are
I
you
couldn't
on dirt?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what dirt was.
Oh.
And then when I did, I was like, oh, this is
Dads.
awesome. How do I get on this
Yeah.
team?
Something.
Dad's inside riding trainers. Dirt.
Ah,
But Zwift races are great.
is
Yeah.
that Mert?
Yeah, they're fun.
Is there a Mert?
A
Yeah.
Mert?
They have a whole Facebook page. Yeah.
And they have merch.
They have merch.
I stopped using
sesh.
Zwift.
Yeah. Did you? So what do you do? Just run the workout on your Garmin?
Just goes
Or
outside.
walks.
So
and
then what do you
rides.
want? Like, what else do you do? That's it? That and our podcast?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just hope that there's a podcast episode to listen to.
I need
and-
something to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just either something on like I think Netflix, or something I've already watched, or really a podcast. I actually was doing a lot for a while, like more like educational stuff. So that was like if I had time to catch up on to learn something new, I'd be on the trainer.
Oh, I am not learning a thing
No.
while I'm doing a workout.
National
I have-
Geographic
I
is
have-
on. Bears are frolicking in the forest.
I'm like
Oh, cute.
not learning anything. Nothing's getting in there.
Like audiobooks and stuff, because I feel like
No.
my mind is ready to like take
There's-
stuff
Oh
in.
my
There's
God,
something
no.
to that though. There is.
There is.
Yeah. Like, but you have to be at a low enough
They
effort level.
tested. I've seen them testing. I don't know if it was the Norwegians where they're not low. They're riding hard and they're asking them questions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was a show, I
Yes,
don't
one
remember
more,
what
okay.
show, but they were having them perform under like extreme stress, hard things.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. And they found that under extreme stress, like you're mentally more acute and in tune and everything, and you're more focused and you like perform better.
Yeah. I have all those things going on, and I just bounce back and forth between each of them and barely pay attention to any of them. It's just
Sounds very ADD.
Yeah,
Yep.
it does.
Maybe, which is funny. Like I don't think I have ADD. Like I think I'm the poster child for the opposite of it. But maybe not.
But like when you're on the trainer, you want chaos, basically.
I don't think
That's
it's
what
that
it
much
sounds
chaos.
like.
It sounded like it.
No, I mean,
Because I think
maybe.
you said you're blasting music.
It's
Didn't you?
No,
music
Marilyn's
and-
blasting music.
Oh, Marilyn's.
You
I've
said
got
you have
music-
music
I have music
and
on.
Discord
Oh.
and
I only have Discord on
and
when
the
it's a group
race.
ride.
I was just
and
thinking
a
about
movie.
I was just thinking about the chaos.
No, not a
that's
movie
going on.
and the race. One or the
I
other.
know.
No, I don't know. Maybe I could do it without the others. Like I could probably, like I've done it with just Zwift in front of me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've done
It's
that too.
fine.
It's fine.
Why not music? Why not
Music's good. Try
Yeah.
a race though.
bike
On
races
like
are
on a
good.
hard
Yeah.
workout. It's
Yeah.
good.
I just got to actually sign back onto Zwift again.
No, not a
No,
Zwift
not a Zwift race. Like
on
watch
YouTube.
a bike
Oh,
race.
watch it.
Watch
Like a Tour de
professional.
France stage.
And pretend
Yeah.
I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got to watch
Well-
like the spring classics or something. Those are fun, exciting. Like, Milan San Remo was this past weekend. Got the 4 biggest names in cycling went down this mountain in Italy, right onto the Via Roma, and like just phenomenal.
I want to do the race where like I'm the guy that celebrates too early. And I'm celebrating too early. And I'm just
Yeah.
like
Oh,
pretend I win,
Yeah.
hands up, and, then
then
guys
somebody
pass me right
books
then.
past you.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That would be me. Actually, I would probably hands up and then I'd
And then
fall.
fall.
I'd crash.
He cramped.
Yeah. Oh,
Ooh.
yeah.
That'd be rough.
I don't know how we got down this
I know.
tangent
were we?
here.
We
Back to
were trying to decide if we should go through the rest of these things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Mhm.
All right. So the next one is how do you come back from injury? Because I think that like
Oh,
really
been there.
wraps up we've all been there, right? It wraps up a ton of stuff that we've already talked about, but you've overdone it. Now you're hurt. Where does the mindset shift to? What kind of approach should you take? Like, how do you go about it?
I think you go through the first stage of grief, right? Or last stage of grief. You accept it first.
Yeah,
right?
'cause
You
there's gonna be
don't
some
train
denial.
through it.
There's
Yeah.
definitely gonna be some denial.
There
Right.
is.
Yeah, and usually
For
that,
those of us
that is what actually
recreational type
leads
A.
to the injury, right? Is the denial
Yep.
part
Yep.
because you
Mhm.
feel that little niggle, and you're like, nah, it's nothing. And you run
Mhm.
on it for another week or swim with it for another, couple sessions
Or 5 or 6 months.
or that.
I think the first step you do is you make sure you have access to a top-notch sports physical therapist. So
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
And then
just
what?
Ruined my flow there. And then go in for a free consultation and
Mhm.
just identify where you're at and see, is it something serious or is it something you can work through, or do you need to take a pause and get some top quality one-on-one treatment with a customized plan where they understand the root cause of why you're injured and address that root cause so that all your other symptoms go away long term. So
Mhm.
make sure you find someone that can do that. And if you need someone like that, I know somebody
This
why don't you just
episode was
give-
brought to you by Next Level Physio.
located in Woodcliff Lake, 123 Broadway, also 8 Lackawanna Plaza in Montclair,
But I think
1055
you-
Darrington. Oh, I don't know the address in Cary now. Darrington.
Oh, Jerry's not going to let you live.
We
that
got to
down.
edit this later.
But
I'll
you
do a
touched on a
voiceover.
good thing, right? Like get assessed,
Yeah.
right?
assessed.
There's
'Cause
nothing
sometimes
wrong
you're-
with getting assessed.
Sometimes if you catch it early, and I've learned this the hard way, you don't even need to stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
You could,
I had
Continue
a
working.
shoulder impingement, and I was like, "This is bad."
yeah.
And I went in, and I was like, "Nope, it's not that bad. You're okay. Like, you need to do this for a couple of weeks, but you don't need to go down, the whole injured route." But
Mhm.
and that was great because you got the assessment and you knew what's up.
So I think the mindset should be your world doesn't have to end.
Yeah.
And then we're in a great sport where there's options. So let's say you do have a shoulder impingement. So maybe you're going to have to scale back on swimming. You could still do kick sets if you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be in the water doing something,
Yeah.
but you can now focus on bike and run.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or if your calf is injured, then if you can tolerate the bike, you can still build cardio on the bike and you can swim. So
Yeah.
there's options. The world's not over.
Right. It is nice to
That
have.
is a good point.
Yeah.
Not over.
Mhm.
Very nice. And you have to be patient because it takes time. But if you try and rush it, then the setback could be worse.
I think that's worth saying again, because for all of us, like
Yeah.
type A or whatever, like training as recreational athletes, patience,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's a big thing. You can be patient for your goals over long term. You can be patient here too.
A wise man once said, all you need is just a little patience.
Yeah. I don't know who that was.
Axl Rose.
Oh. Oh, God.
Oh, man. I think there's going to be a lot of editing of this.
Yeah.
one. Like, what?
This episode might come out about
You're
3 months
terrible. I
later.
was like,
I don't think there's been ever a podcast where anyone whistled. Like, that's not.
I need a pop
he's not
filter.
even good at it.
It's the mic.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. You're terrible. I was like,
Your mic's whistling.
I'm going to be the guy that comments, that was horrible.
That audio is terrible.
I think one way to help with that is if you turn the act of recovery into your major goal, like shift gears and say like, okay, I need to get better, but like, how do I keep my fitness improving? How do I keep doing this? How do I keep switch it and be like, how do I get better the fastest? And that's my new thing I'm going to work at for the next, whatever my doctor tells me it's going to take. And that now becomes the focus of all my training. Everything I want to do is going to be towards getting me better.
One thing I'd mention also is that progress is not linear.
Yeah, it's never
It
linear, right?
Like it's kind of
exponential.
like hard to take in, but it's like an easy concept. Progress isn't linear. Oh yeah, we get it. And progress isn't linear. We all know, but it's not. And you might get injured. You could get injured. You will get injured if you do, and that's okay because progress is not linear. It doesn't mean there's no progress.
Mm-hmm.
It just means you'll come back stronger.
Yeah, if you do things right.
and like you said before, since we have 3 sports, like recently I was hurt and I couldn't really run. So I was like, all right, so I'm just going to throw it all into biking and swimming. And that was good.
Yeah.
At the end. Yeah.
Now your biking is just through the roof. You're like pushing Greg. You almost broke
Better.
him,
Almost.
from what I heard.
I don't
Almost.
think
There's
I'll
only
break him
been
ever.
I'm
one
kinda
person who broke Greg on anything. So
Oh,
You.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do have that distinction.
you do. I hope nobody else gets it.
That's on a t-shirt. So you are injured. Your main focus is I'm going to get better.
Mhm.
This is it. So do you push yourself? How fast after you get injured can you push yourself? What should be your mindset around that?
Yeah, it's
Slowly, not fast.
Yeah.
That's the
real slow.
Is there a barometer?
I think the extent of the injury is a
Mhm.
big one. How long were you out for?
What
Where
was
were
it?
you? Yeah.
Mhm.
What was it? Where were you before? What's the chance of re-injury? Like if you like crash on your bike and mess up your hip, that to me is different than like an overuse injury, right? Because once I can move my hip again, I'll probably be fine. But if I get an overuse injury, like something caused that, if I didn't fix the thing that caused it, even once I feel better, I'm probably just going to do it again. So I think that's important. I think where your fitness level was beforehand is important. Like if you're a world-class runner who's running 100, 120 miles a week and you take a week off, like you can probably get back to your regular distance pretty quickly. Where if you were running 5 miles a week and you had to take 2 months off, like you're starting from ground zero, So I don't think there's one answer.
Your age probably
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
is a big factor.
And don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
I think you also have to, take some time to look back and evaluate, well, what did my training look like? What was my lifestyle look like before I got injured?
Mhm.
And I kind of identify what was that main factor that put you there. And then evaluate that. If you have your coach, talk about it and then say, all right, let's adjust and make sure we don't get
don't
into
do
that
that
situation again.
Yeah. I mean, I had that problem for like a year and a half with my IT band was just flaring up on me every time. And it was my fault for just pushing things too quickly every time. And I'd get over it. And then I'd be like, all right, cool, let's get back into it. And then a couple of months later, it'd flare right back up again. And it took a while. And what I eventually did was I just shut down running. I was like, okay, I got in my head, I'm like, I'm done with running, period. Like I'll do aqua bikes, I'll ride my bike, like whatever. I'm not going to try and run again. And I took a 5 or 6 month break and I found a good, the doctor who did the dry needling and was able to loosen everything up. And allowed me to slowly start back. And I took forever to get back to running. Like it took me, I want to say it took about 4.5 months to go from like a 1:30 run, 2-minute walk to like a 30-minute jog, you know, and I just slowly built up to it. And then knock on wood, I've felt pretty good.
You did a 70.3.
Yeah, with no pain and, you know.
And I think it's important to find that right recovery approach because with Achilles tendonitis, I went to PTs and their approach was like, we can just get this guy back to his desk at work and he can walk to the office and from the office and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so to them, it wasn't, you know, he's going to go run a marathon or whatever it is. And so if you got to look at your goals and you got to find the right approach that's going to get you back to your goals. And it's not like the end of the world if what you're going to isn't going to get you back to your goals. You find something that does get you there. You can do it.
I'm waiting for the part where you say, though, then
Say
you went to the next level.
Yeah, you went
Next
to the
level.
wrong PTs,
and
I think.
then they
Yeah.
were interested in you running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I've said it before. I came in and I said, 2 months. If I don't get better, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Because it was just the same thing. They would get me to like, he can go back to his desk and do his job. It's cool.
Yeah.
And he can walk. And it's like,
So let me give you a little inside tip on why it's like that in most PTs.
ooh.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of insurance.
Yeah.
Insurance doesn't care that you want to run a marathon or do a 70.3. They want to know, can you function? Can you do your daily job? Can you get around the house? And
Makes
we'll
sense.
cover that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to do a 70.3, that's on you.
That's on you.
So
Yeah.
at that point, then the insurance is cut off reimbursing. And then if you're not going to pay out of pocket, then that PT clinic's going to be like, all right, well, you're good to go.
Mm.
But they never
Same.
tell you that. They're just like, you're good to go.
Yeah. Well, because they don't want you to see that side of the business.
So if you want to be in control of your healthcare, being willing to pay when necessary is the only way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like wrong podcast, but then that means like surgeons and surgery is really bad. Like, we'll only cover up until the point where you can just live.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Mm.
Well, I don't know if it's in all
Well, no, I'm sure it is. Like,
medical
there's-
fields, but
Think about all those elective surgeries and stuff, or
Mhm.
they call elective, but it might be quality of life things for you. But, you know, in the eyes of the people who are footing the bill, you don't need that. You don't need to have, like, think about like dental, right? Like nothing's covered under that.
yeah, I mean, because really you could just pull the tooth out.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. You don't need,
Eat through a straw. Okay, wrong podcast. Let's get back.
Moving
to,
on.
we're not
Yeah.
going to solve the world's
Yeah.
or the United States medical dilemmas on this podcast.
So okay, so you're injured. You're getting back. Your new focus. Oh no, I have a race in a few weeks, or I have a race in 6 months. Like, is there an approach to that? Like, what do you?
Why-
all right,
why are you
let's
staring
all
at
look at
Marilyn?
Marilyn and
I've
have
been
her
there
answer.
a million times. Well, don't do what I do.
That's- so everybody
I-
listening, don't do what she does. You don't know
Yeah,
what she
I
does,
just went
but
to the
don't do
race.
that.
Depends how close it is, what the injury is. If you could even, talk to a PT first for sure. Don't
Yeah.
just go and do the race, because then I did that and then I couldn't run for months. A lot of months, like 5 or 6 months. So
when you
get a
look back,
second
was it
opinion.
worth it for that race?
No, because had I come in here and got an opinion on what I was feeling, I probably would have still been able to do the race.
Mm.
And I just maybe would have had to dial it back. But instead, I ended up being out for a really long time. So I don't think it would have taken me out of the race had I gotten looked at right when it started.
Yeah, I think you have to, like Marilyn said, there's too many variables to pin it down to one answer.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think honestly, the biggest question is, am I going to do long-term harm to myself
Yeah.
with this?
Yeah.
And I mean, that needs to be the first thing you ask.
Mhm.
Or if you have a stress fracture that you're going to cause, real harm to yourself, that's something you say like, no, I'm going to bite the bullet here and eat the race fees and whatever. But then there might just be like, I'm going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Then,
a little tendonitis.
Yeah. I mean,
But even that, it's best to like go to.
yeah, but I mean, like,
PT and have a
let's
look
play the
at it.
game of you've got, $1,000 sunk in an Ironman race entry.
Let's go. Like you have this 2.5 year plan,
Yeah.
and you've gone through everything. You've done all the 70.3s.
Mm-hmm.
You've done the 70.3 next spring.
Yeah.
Gearing up for that full Ironman in
Uh-huh.
late summer, fall, and then something happens.
So I'll give you this. You might not believe me. This is my honest answer. Completing the Ironman is not, for me, the biggest goal of that plan. My biggest goal of that plan is to get through that plan.
The journey.
Yeah.
Mm.
And as I was writing it out, I was more excited about completing the steps along the way than I was about crossing the finish line. So I do think if I was injured, I would be able to say, like, no, I'm going to sit this one out.
Mm.
And I'll be honest, I don't know that I would try it again. Like I don't, if I was like, no, this one's not happening, I might be okay. Like I might be able to be a happy enough person to say like, I gave it a shot.
I feel like my heart rate is elevating just listening to this. I don't know.
Yeah. I could be
checking it right
lying
now.
through my teeth to myself,
It's tough.
and I might do the exact opposite of what I just said, but my gut tells me that I would be okay with it.
I guess it depends on timing. Like if it's 2 weeks or like a week before and something happens and it's catastrophic, all right,
Mhm.
you gotta shut down. But if you have like 2 months,
If you have time, go get
6
it checked
weeks.
out and have it worked
Right,
on.
see what my
You could-
options are.
Yeah, you could.
I'm not going to make a decision until
Right.
the last minute, but obviously you want to be there at the start line, but
yeah,
The main thing to remember is when you start a race at the physical capability that you're at. Not, especially if you're injured, not, oh, well, a month ago I was here and I could have done this, because that'll just make you
Mhm.
have a terrible race.
Right.
readjust. Yeah, readjust.
Yeah,
your
you
goals.
got to readjust your goals.
and I think that might be the thing I'd have the hardest thing with, readjusting the goals.
It's hard.
So I don't know. It's a good hypothetical though.
Yeah.
What would you guys do?
I know what I have done.
I was very fortunate where I was going to Next Level Physio. My coach was the PT. I fell down the stairs.
Oh, God.
I had
Busted my ass.
in New
Literally.
Jersey State and the 70.3 Atlantic City.
Mhm.
And I wasn't able to do one, but I just trusted in the coach and the plan. And I was like, if I hit a certain milestone, I could still do the 70.3.
Mhm.
And there was just enough time. It wasn't like perfect.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't perfect, but it was just enough time to be able to do it. And then I think that was probably the best outcome of that.
Was that
kind
your
of-
first 70.3?
No,
Okay.
no.
Would have made the story much better.
It was one of the first, and one of the first in I think like in a
What do you
long
mean
time.
one of the first? There's only one first.
one of my.
It wasn't like the 10th one or the 15th one.
It's
I
not
think
your
it was like
first,
the
and it's
second.
the 10th.
I think it was the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first one we did together, right?
Yeah.
So that was the second one because I'd done one up in New York before, and it wasn't Ironman branded. So it was the first Ironman brand race.
Okay. It was the first one with us as a group.
Yeah,
That's
and it was
all
the
that
first
matters.
Ironman
And I
brand.
feel like it kind of springboarded you.
There was the challenge or some kind of other that I did a 70.3.
Do you still have any remnants of
I
that?
did the ones with the what's his name, Iron Cowboy. When
Oh,
he
you
was
did?
doing his 50, I was one of the 50s he did.
Oh, you were there?
And his whole
Did
family
you
was
see him?
there.
You saw him?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Don't you remember this?
I'm so
conversation?
jealous.
I know. We talked
No,
about
I don't
this.
remember at all.
Yeah.
He was so high from that meeting him backstage.
I think
Yeah.
you
I was
still
like,
oh my
were.
God, you raced with him? I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
man.
Started with him and everything. Yeah, he was with his like bus, and his family was there, and he was with a posse. They all did it with him. I don't know that they all did all the races, but
Yeah.
it was definitely with his own crew.
Do you still have remnants of the fall?
I think a little bit, but it's like slowly getting better.
Wow.
It's still.
And
It's
that's
been so
It's
Two
a
long.
years.
scar
2
tissue.
years?
It's scar tissue that'll just takes forever to break up.
Mhm.
Can we tell the listeners what we're talking about?
I fell on my butt down the stairs, hitting every stair on the way down. Like literally didn't miss one. It was just like my luck. I was like, boom, boom. I was like
Like a
okay, when's
human
this going to
slinky.
stop? Like a
And then
slinky.
Rich's butt cheek developed a butt cheek. Like he had another butt cheek. It was pretty impressive.
It
Like,
was
so
really
big.
I mean,
You
I was
saw it?
selling tickets to the
I
show.
remember. Did you?
Not the skin, but I could see it on his like. Or
Oh,
did you
when-
show me? Maybe you showed
yeah,
me.
he showed us when
I
we
think he showed
were
us.
we were at the lake the Friday before, right? You hadn't made up your mind yet,
Yeah.
and I think you went to try
Yeah,
it
I
out
just-
and swim,
Yep.
and you showed it to us.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
It was,
It was horrible.
it was not a pretty sight.
No, when bruises turn like all different colors and
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
stuff.
terrible.
Yeah.
It was like the size of a baseball at
Oh
least.
my God.
Yeah.
No, so like a little nice, tiny little butt cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I trusted the plan, and it was one of those things where that was the perfect, like not the perfect outcome, but the right thing to do. Then
Yeah.
to just kind of say, okay, I'm not going to be able to do this race, but if the training goes well and I hit all my markers and I have patience and I
Mhm.
kind of go through all the steps and I create a different goal, and I didn't run
Mhm.
for a little while. I wouldn't say I didn't run for long, but I didn't run for a little while, but I was still moving and kind of trying to focus on just getting there. Getting to the start line was the goal.
I feel like if this were to happen for going into next year training for the Ironman, 99% I feel like if the injury was something, it would be affecting my run, something with that.
Mhm.
So then I think what I would do is deny that I'm not going to be able to do the race. Like I was, I'm doing it no matter what, but then I would have to like really ramp up swim and bike training, and then just rest for the run, and then go into it just keeping my fingers crossed. Like, all right, I may be undertrained for it,
Mhm.
and I'm just gonna have to grind out that
So it's-
marathon at the end.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I've done this for a little while, and a lot of people I know who had that like run problem, whatever it was, did running in the pool, and they just like would do this weightless, like they put down that belt
Oh,
that makes
That's
it
like
float.
running the altar.
It's like
G.
running the Alter G, but it's even like no weight whatsoever. And
Yeah.
that's what they would do. They would repeat the motion of running, but in the pool. And I haven't read enough papers, and I don't know the answer to this, but apparently that's not a thing. Like, do people do that?
Oh yeah, 100%. Tim O'Donnell came in second or third at Kona in 2019, and he did all of his running in the pool in the lead up.
Because I think I asked, like, should I just go run? And the answer was no, don't do that. And I don't know. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just like, so if that happens, you're running in the pool, buddy. You're running next to those people that are walking in the
Yeah,
pool
yeah.
next to you.
I think
I'll just
Lucy
try to lap
Charles
'em.
Barkley ran in the pool.
Yeah.
She hurt herself
Mhm.
when she hurt her hip.
Is that a good practice thing? Should we just do that at
What
all?
pace are you trying to do? Like, what are you just doing?
You're
for
not
time,
trying to do
duration?
you just
trying to just run.
time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
I can't imagine anything more boring. Like
How much would I be
I'm
sweating?
not tall enough.
Oh.
I think.
The pool would start to overflow.
I don't think you're supposed to be. I think you're supposed to be in a pool where you can't touch the bottom.
Oh wow!
I think you're supposed
Like
to wear like
completely.
Yeah, you're
Oh, you're,
wearing
like,
one of those
floating?
floating
Vest.
belts,
How
and
do
you're in
you
the deep
move?
end. You're
Not much.
barely
Oh.
mom.
Oh.
You're just,
this
like,
is
spinning your
motion.
wheels.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were like actually.
I believe.
No, no.
I believe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the people that I've talked to and know and have seen are the ones in the deep end, and they're just kind of like almost in one place, and their
Wow.
arms are making them move a little
Mhm.
bit, not
Oh,
their feet.
wow.
Just kind of like running.
I think I would hate that, but
Oh, I think
yeah.
it'd be horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like 2 hours of that or something?
No.
Nope.
Nope. Nope. Nope. Nope.
Nope.
Your
About like-
mental fortitude, though.
About like one length.
Should we be
would-
telling like no people you should do this? Don't be no. This is what you should.
I
Don't
don't
listen.
know.
Don't
talk
do
to your
it.
healthcare provider.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come
Exactly.
to an agreement.
You got to do
Yeah.
nutrition, bathroom breaks,
I
That's
don't
the
think you're
pool.
there that long.
2 hours. I don't know.
We should
Maybe.
move on.
I don't think you have to do it for 2 hours.
Could you be pushing it if you're injured? Depends on your injury, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
Probably
wanna-
not pushing it if
Probably
you're
not
injured.
pushing it. I don't want to tell
Yeah.
anybody to push it when they're injured.
So we've got all this data coming
Mhm.
at us. Is there any kind of basic numbers people should be looking at week to week in terms of making improvements or plateauing or not plateauing? Like, I think I've seen almost everybody who has, I don't want to do this to Garmin, but like everybody who has a Garmin has complained about their statuses. Like,
Yeah.
All right,
and
spot check on everyone's status.
it's,
right now.
forget it. I'm not doing it.
Where do you see
I'm
it?
unproductive
I
for
don't
the
know. Look
last
at my
6
watch.
months.
I think I'm maintaining.
I'm productive.
Nice. Look at you.
Yeah. Look at that.
My watch might be broken now.
Yeah, I'm maintaining.
I still have no status.
So I think you've got some set up with your Garmin. No, because you don't have a Garmin head
No,
unit.
it says run outdoors with heart rate twice to see your status.
You did
I'm
that today.
maintaining.
I've been running outdoors.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I forgot to wear my. Well,
But
this
that
heart
should
rate
pick up
monitor
heart
should
rate.
count too.
Even
I
if you
don't know.
didn't wear it today. Yeah.
Yeah, it should. So what was the question again? Oh, what should you be looking at?
So what's the metric, right? So you're not going to follow the fact that your Garmin's telling you you're unproductive with every run, or that you're not. You should, be doing other things. So
Yeah, so this ties, I think, into what we talked about the last couple weeks. If you're following a good plan, that plan should be focused on certain things at certain times of the year. You should be tracking different things at different times of the year. I don't expect my FTP to come up in the base season when I'm cycling. I don't, because I'm not doing work that should be pushing my FTP up that much. Like I might be getting tiny minuscule amounts because just general aerobic adaptations. But what I should be seeing when I'm working on that base is like I should be seeing an increase in low power at a low heart rate. Like, so for me, like right now, my top of zone 2 is at like 180, 185. So like if I'm in my base period, do I see that number increasing at the same heart rate? So that means I'm getting more efficient, or I'm getting more fit at that power, at that effort. So I'm looking at that. Then I go into a build phase, and like right now I'm trying to do a little bit more FTP work. Like now I should be charting my FTP over time and seeing that increase, hopefully, or at least being able to do harder workouts, spend more time in zone and that kind of stuff.
So it's keeping something constant and watching something else.
I think you want to be seeing something that shows what you're actually working on.
So what you're then saying is don't pay attention to your TSS or your RSS or your load for the week or your anything like that.
Oh no, all those things too.
You got to look at everything in combination, right?
That's
I like
not what he said.
For me, like I feel like I'm just a very simple person. It's just simply for like a certain effort, like how did I feel?
Mm-hmm.
So like if I'm supposed to do a certain workout and it's endurance pace, did it feel easy? Like,
yeah.
So either did my heart rate stay low at a set pace, or was I able to go faster at the same heart rate?
Mm-hmm.
And then to me, I'm like, oh, I'm making progress then.
So what you're looking at is change over time. What I think Greg was talking about is a little bit of a static metric, right?
No, I'm looking at the same thing as he is, but I'm switching what that thing might be from like cycle to cycle.
So is there a static metric that someone can look at and say, this is my fitness, this is how I am?
I don't think so.
HRV.
No.
That's not going to give it to you.
That doesn't tell you.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I don't think there's one thing. I think like, so going back to what you said, like where TSS and all that, that's part of the plan. Like that's part of the planning process. That's not what I'm looking at to see, am I improving? Because you're right. Like I don't look at those things to see if I'm improving. I might go back and look at them retrospectively and be like, man, my FTP jumped this much every 4 weeks when I was doing. Now, what was I doing to get that? Then I go back and look at it. But like week to week, I'm looking more at,
CTL.
Same thing with CTL, retrospective. Like I'm going to plan my workouts. I'm going to hit, I'm going to see progression in how much volume or intensity or both I'm doing. And then if I see an improvement, but what am I measuring to see improvement? Whatever I'm trying to work on, right? If I'm working on FTP, I want to see my FTP go up. If I'm working on my endurance, I want to see my endurance go up.
Could you be working on everything?
No.
Oh.
I want everything to go up.
All at once. No, they don't. It doesn't work that way. There are. All right.
So you
Sort
can't
of.
make running improvement gains at the same time that you're making FTP gains at the same time as you're making.
Oh,
no,
everything,
no.
all the sports?
I think you can make. I think you'd be smart to do FTP on the bike and threshold on the run. Like those are both thresholds. Like those are the same kind of cellular adaptations that you're going to see on the bike and the run. So why not do one FTP bike workout and a threshold run workout in a week, and probably see both of them go up.
Are you talking about your mitochondria?
Mm-hmm. Powerhouse of the
He's
cell,
talking about
right?
your mitochondria.
How to redeem myself from that HRV.
Good job. It would have been great if the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Lippy in 6th grade life science.
I have the biology and anatomy coloring books.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got some data. We talked about a little bit more. Okay. So what about race data? Is there anything you can look at to like going into a race about like what you should be expecting in terms of data?
It depends how deep you want to dive into it.
So it's a whole other podcast. Yay.
Well, definitely don't go by the Garmin race predictor.
No.
No, do not.
No.
Right? How fast did that say you'd run a marathon? 3:20
Yeah.
something?
I mean, maybe that's
And
what
you
screwed me up.
didn't?
I know. It's just a little bit off.
Yeah.
That's why you have something to grind, an axe
Yeah.
to grind.
I mean, it always flashes like a sub 25K to me. So I changed the screen to a half marathon now, I think.
Okay.
I think now it tells me
Is that one-
145.
Is that one of the widgets?
It's where your VO2 max is displayed.
Okay.
And it tells you that, really?
Yeah, so my half estimate is 145, but yeah. I don't know.
45.
Okay, so we know not to look at that. What should you be looking at, or if you should be looking at anything for a race? Is
HRV.
James going to say?
You should look at your mitochondria. Take them out, look at them under a microscope, see how they look. Talk
Get
to them.
blood work.
Yeah.
Could you tell me how many mitochondria I have?
And how they're feeling today. Are they up for a 145 half
And what is their
marathon?
HRV?
Yeah.
I think you have to look at, well, where's your resting heart rate? Like if it's high, you're not recovered, right?
Yeah.
So that's one. So if you're going to a race and your heart rate's not where, if it's elevated, all right, well, good luck.
Mhm. Is that what you were thinking about, Rich? What kind of things were you thinking about with that?
Well, one thing wanted to say, like, if you don't want to go crazy, go by how you feel. So
Mhm.
you should feel rested, and your prediction should be somewhere in your training plan. Like where you've done all of
You've
the
done
things
it before.
You've done it.
Yeah.
So a race is nothing more than putting together the pieces of your training.
Rich, did you tell me that you don't taper or you don't believe in tapering?
I don't taper a lot because I just don't do well. I just start. I don't know what is it. I go into detraining a lot faster.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like I don't have a big taper. Well, I know some people taper big, and then kind of go into a race like almost fully rested. I find that I need to run the engine to just keep it going.
Maybe your definition of taper is incorrect.
Okay.
Like maybe the appropriate
Is it
taper is a
mitochondria and
taper.
HRV?
Yeah. You're not monitoring those properly. There's a formula. I mean, because when you taper, you don't just stop.
Yeah, but
you're
but
tapering. Like taper is like trim a little bit.
some
or
people trim a
appropriate.
lot. But that's what I mean.
Okay, so
Some
you
people some people just go for like out for a 20-minute run or like a 10-minute swim or whatever it is just to get the feel for it. But they're not doing much.
And you find you do worse if you do a big taper.
Mm-hmm. And I'll do a taper for sure, so I can be peaking.
Mhm.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Training peaks.
Mm. Creative name they came up with, huh? Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other like stuff you should look at pre-race. I don't know. I feel weird pre-race. It's tough, I think, if you're new and you haven't done a distance or an event, something of a certain type. Like I don't know
But you
what
should
to
just-
expect on an Ironman day.
But you can
Yeah.
go on based on what you've done. Like, so if you've done a 1.2 swim or whatever your per 100, you can extrapolate the number for your 1.2 swim.
Yeah.
And you can extrapolate, like if your average speed on the bike is 15 miles an hour and you're going to need to bike 56 miles, you can figure out how long that's
Yeah,
going to take you. And that, yes, you're going to look at how many hills it has and how many
Right.
things it has. And if your average run pace is 10-minute miles and you got to run a half marathon, then you
Yeah.
kind of you can definitely.
Yeah.
And if you can say, okay, but I've ran it
as
fastest at this point in the training, and
Yeah.
maybe if I do that, then that's my time, right?
Mhm.
So there's definitely things you can
Yeah.
use as race predictors.
I guess you gotta evaluate how were your key sessions leading up to the taper. How did they feel?
Yeah.
Mhm.
How well did you do? Did you hit the numbers? Did you get the proper stimulus? And then that's it. And then once you hit the taper, like the work's been done. There's,
Mhm.
there's
No
nothing
matter
else.
what, there's no telling until that day. You
Yeah.
could do all that in training, and that day you just have a shitty day.
All right.
Yeah. What's probably not going to happen is like you do all your workouts at 200 watts
Yeah,
and
then
then
you
go
have-
out and be like, I think I could do 250 today.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't think the taper
Look at your mitochondria.
I know. I'm going to get a mitochondria monitor.
That's true. That's a good point, right?
Yeah.
Don't try to do more.
More.
Even if it's a little more,
Yeah.
don't do it.
Especially
when
in
you're,
a long race.
Yeah. The longer the race, the less
Yeah.
room for that there is.
when you're pumped up at the start line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, oh, here comes that 26-minute swim. Like, no, probably not.
Yeah.
And then after 200 yards, you're like, yeah, definitely not.
No.
I feel like we could end on a good one. When should you get then a coach?
When you decide to.
Always.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know. I'd like to know. I wonder. I bet like USAT probably has numbers on this, but like how many people actually have a coach, and like what their stats look like. I don't care about race time, but like how many races they do, like how involved they are in the sport versus people who don't. I don't know. I mean,
I would say more people don't.
yeah, I would say so too. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends, like, what is your goal,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you're just finishing and which is fine, like you want to complete it or it's a recreational thing and you kind of use it as travel and you want to explore
just
different
for
race
fun.
venues for
Yeah.
fun, that's one thing. But if you, not say you want to be like competitive or podium, but you want to do your best, but let's say you've tried it for a while and you're either not getting better, you're not getting the results you want, or you're constantly hitting roadblocks, then maybe you don't have the proper knowledge to build a training plan.
I think that's the biggest thing is like
Mhm.
when you feel like you're not doing what you want to do, that's when you get one, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're not able, and that might be the other option. The other side of that is when you just don't want to be bothered by it.
Yeah.
Right. Which is 100, when we're talking about reducing stressors, like there's a point where like you pay for services. Like I can pay $5 a week to have the people at ShopRite pick out my order for me. That $5 is 100% worth it for the stress of me not having to set aside an hour and a half of my week to go grocery shopping. I'd pull up into spot number 2 and they bring me out my bags of food. And that's well worth the cost.
And no judgment.
No, I don't. You can judge all you want. I don't care. I'm still doing it tomorrow. Like, there's a point where if you can study and you love all this stuff and you want to do it, then cool. But there's people who say like, I'd rather just pay somebody else to do it for me.
Mhm.
And I want to wake up and look at my watch and do what the watch says. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then there's the case like you're talking about where you've got, you just feel like you can't get the most out of yourself by trying to program your own training. So
I also think too, if you're doing something you've never attempted before either. So if you're in uncharted waters,
and
Like-
I think those are probably the
swimming.
people who are least likely to hire a coach
Hmm.
because it's like, oh, I'm not good enough to even think about like needing this or whatever. But that's probably a subset of people who could get a lot from somebody.
I'm just thinking
helping
like
them.
if you've only done, let's say, sprints or Olympics and like, I'm going to go for that 70.3 or
Mm-hmm.
Ironman.
Right.
But maybe you've survived on sprints and Olympics, but maybe you don't have the confidence to get yourself through that
Sure.
longer training. Then that's the moment where you say, all right, I get a coach.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more complicated to train for 3 sports, especially as you get to a longer distance.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to figure it out. And I do it for myself, and I probably only do it for myself because I like to use myself as like a test subject. Knowing that I'm working with other athletes, I like to be able to try different workouts out and try different cycles and figure out like what those things feel like. And so like when I prescribe something for you, James, that like I've either done that or something like that. And I know like what it should feel like and how tired you should be afterwards and that kind of stuff, where maybe I wouldn't if I had somebody else doing my programming and I was doing your programming separately and stuff. So, I might be holding myself back a little bit by not having a coach, but I think I gain more from like my knowledge base with coaching myself.
Do you ever feel like you need a coach?
I don't know if I'm at a spot yet where I need a coach. I still think I've got fitness gains that I'm just like, other than having somebody like feeling like almost guilty about like skipping a session, and oh shoot, they're going to look and see the square's not green. Like maybe, but
We can do that for you.
yeah.
To put you on the spot, if you had to choose one of us three to be your coach,
No.
Oh God.
who would you choose and why?
The guy who said mitochondria.
Yeah. Not
I know,
that
not
guy.
me.
Not that guy.
It's not me, but you have to choose between Rich and Marilyn.
No, we're not answering that question. I love you guys all equally. You're
Yeah.
wonderful.
So maybe all three of us should coach you.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys can each rotate through each thing, each discipline.
Rich, have you been doing any of my swim workouts I've been programming you?
He's not doing my workouts.
I am. I've at least done one or more of the workouts you both programmed.
Hmm.
I don't know that this makes sense for this podcast, so we can edit it out. But whoever programmed the swim, I was like, oh, this is cool.
You.
Yeah.
10-minute rests.
Wait, what? I put 10-minute rest in there by accident?
I'm like, why is this workout 2 hours? I'm like, all right, whatever. It literally
I couldn't
said
figure out
2.5
why
hours.
I couldn't figure out why it was.
I'm like, it looks like it's okay, but
I
I
meant to
didn't
put 10 seconds.
I didn't look at, so instead of like seconds, instead of 10 and 20 seconds, he's got 10 and 20 minute rests. So just so we're clear.
I couldn't figure
All right.
it out. And you know what it was? Because I was like, before when I was putting 10 seconds, I would do the full, 0:0:0. And then when I put in 10, it just, I thought it was doing automatically, assuming it was just 10 seconds, but it's putting it as 10 minutes.
And then the thing shows up as like yellow because
Because you didn't do enough
killed
time.
it. No, yeah, or because
Or-
the stress score is higher because I've done it faster or more or
No, it's
whatever
because of time.
Good
because of time or
Yeah.
yeah.
I deleted it
I
like
was
so many
like,
times and redid it. I was like, what is wrong with this thing?
Yeah. So
10-minute okay, sorry.
and I don't know, like whatever bike was, it wasn't anything recent because I've been working on something else recently.
I
But
just
I think if they have been, maybe I've done one or two recently. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the swim workouts.
Wait, who's doing the tracks?
Me.
I haven't done anything recently or maybe the last one I did was yours.
Mm.
I think.
This is riveting.
Was it the
guys,
build?
But
Was it yeah, I know. We got to cut this out. Was it the build? Was it that one?
I don't know what I did. Maybe.
It's just because they look so similar to others, like I can't tell anymore.
I envisioned this as a part where like, oh, well, look, our excellent programming skills, and then people getting interested.
It didn't go that way.
Yeah. I don't think you guys did anything like super crazy. It was good. It was fine.
Because Rich is basically our test subject.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'd let somebody I'd be somebody's test subject.
No. We'll mean
It's
it's
too
too
risky.
important. Yeah.
It's too risky with you. We
That
gotta
important.
protect you
We should
at all
we
costs.
should edit this out too.
It's not that
If
important.
you go down,
I
then
see
we
where
all
I
go
stand.
down.
I see where I stand.
But Rich, he's got that third butt cheek anyway.
Okay.
We do it because we love you.
I know.
All right, are we good?
Yeah.
We'll hit pause and then we can keep talking if you want. Thanks everybody for listening. It's another episode of the Quad Pod. Hopefully you guys learned something about how to handle a little bit of adversity when it's thrown your way. If you like this, please give us a 5-star review rating. Leave a review, leave a comment, any of the above, and we'll talk to you next week. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. That's all we got for tonight. Thanks everyone for listening to the Next Level Quad Pod. We really appreciate you spending time with us and listening to everything that we have to offer. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review and a rating. Those little things go a long way towards us being able to bring you more content like this. If you'd like to learn more about what we have to offer, please go to our website at goteamnltry.com. There, you can find out about all the different things we provide that can help you reach your athletic potential. Thank you again for finding time in your busy schedule to spend some time with the Quad Pod.